Paleo Hackers. With me on the other end is my guest, Vince Del Monte, best-selling author, pro fitness model, contributor to Men's Health, ESPN, bodybuilding.com, and many more. Here today to talk about his mission to transform 1 million skinny guys and gals by the year 2020, helping them build muscle without drugs, bogus supplements, or 8-hour training sessions. Vince, my man, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you, my man. It's a pleasure to be here.
So this is the time where I kind of tell the audience how I found you and why I brought you on the show, and then I'll stop blabbering and let you get to it, because we got a great show. I'm really excited for what we're going to dive into. But I think I was in high school in 2006 or something, and when you started posting your YouTube videos, which was unheard of. There was no YouTube videos out then. And I started following them and got great results, and became kind of the muscle guy at my high school, and said this is what I wanted to do, and took that into college. And I joke that I learned more from your channel and your products in the 4 years of college than my kinesiology degree. So
wow. That's amazing.
It was 1,000 times cheaper too. You know?
No kidding, eh? That's crazy. And the information's 10 times better now.
Yeah. Well, man, you know, I think the one thing I got the most out of wasn't like your fitness stuff, but was your book recommendations. And
interesting.
You recommended the 4-Hour Workweek to me when I was 18, and I read that thing and said, "This is it. This is life right here." And so I really started applying it, and that's how I got this gig on the show. And that's why we're talking right now. So it's kind of full circle on that.
That's cool, Clark. Well, one of the things my father taught me when I was young was that you can read your way out of a rut. And I can see all the books in your in behind you there. You can see I got my own little collection too, and I've got them divided in 3 sections. I've got all my fitness books over here. And then right behind me are all my spiritual books, all my personal development books. And then on the left over here are all my business books. So,
yeah,
kind of like the Tim Ferriss kind of books,
yeah,
Seth Godin, and
Yeah, absolutely. I see the Tony Horton one back there.
Do you see that one?
Yeah.
I won't lie. There's a lot of books back here I have not read, which just goes to show the secret to writing a good book is what? A good title.
Yeah, it's very true.
Why do people buy books? The title. And anyways, there's a lot. I mean, I wrote a book this year, so it's coming out later this year. So, I have to think a lot about that, because the truth is people buy books, but a lot of people don't finish them.
Right. Yeah. It's like 90% don't make it past the first chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Is your book on fitness or business or both?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I haven't actually really told many people. It's called Living Large, a skinny guy's guide to no-nonsense muscle building. How to gain your first 30 pounds of muscle in 30 weeks with DTS training. And we'll get into DTS training a bit later. It's based on the most cutting-edge muscle building science. Okay. So that's a pretty bold claim. But it is positioned towards the guy just getting started. Not the hardcore advanced guy who's been in the gym for 10 years. Would it benefit them? Absolutely. But, that's pretty much it. So the business book will come in about 1.5 years.
Okay. Because I know with just getting started, it can be overwhelming. You got so many resources, so many different blogs. Everyone's got a podcast. Everyone's got a YouTube channel. It's like, who do you listen to?
Yeah.
And so I'm curious with you, going back to your story and knowing some of it. I mean, you weren't always the fitness model, kind of ripped up guy who could write a muscle building book. You were quite the opposite. Tell our listeners kind of how you got started and I guess your story.
Sure. I went to the University of Western Ontario to get a kinesiology degree, which is just a different way of saying exercise science. And I was a former long distance runner. I grew up in a running home where my father was a runner and my brothers were runners. I did triathlon at a very competitive level. I even competed at the World Championships and represented my country. I've competed at pretty much every level in endurance sport, track and field, and I pretty much found my identity in running as a good runner, because I got this nickname in university, which it sounds funny, but it was like, dude, man, it kept me up late at night. I couldn't sleep. People used to nickname me Skinny Vinny. it sounds cute, right? But like when you're an insecure college guy, that's not what you want your buddies saying to you around a lot of the hot girls.
Right.
You have an interest in. You don't want to be nicknamed Skinny Vinny. So, university, I happened to live with 8 dudes that were, I kid you not, these were the guys wanted to be, and the girls they wanted to be with. The guys the girls wanted to be with. So the influence of muscle really rubbed off on me in a very visceral way. And I associated all these things these guys had as being, directly related to their muscle. Yeah. They were confident. They got what they want. They demanded respect. They just had something that I wanted. So I always had this fascination with muscle in university, but because I was a runner, I couldn't really pursue it because obviously, my coach used to say you're fat if you're over 135 pounds as a male. Come in at 136 and he says, oh, you had a good summer, eh, Vince? so I grew up in this world where muscle was the enemy. You don't want muscle as a long distance runner. It slows you down. It doesn't make you run very fast. So anyways, this thing was always on my mind. And after university, make a long story short, I got into the fitness industry because I had this fascination with coaching people and helping people transform their bodies. I started off a career as a personal trainer after 4 years of university education. I spent $50,000 on a university education to end up working at a local YMCA for $10 an hour. And it's funny because my father was like, are you going to be a personal trainer when you're 35? It was a good question because I was 22 and, he was like, is this secure? Is this fitness industry real? Like, he was really skeptical of the whole thing. He wanted me to be a teacher and get a secure job, get something, that, guaranteed paycheck, summers off, set hours. It's like, that's the life. And I had this thing with the fitness industry. I'm like, no, there's something here. I was fascinated with helping people transform their body. And that's when my real journey began. When I was done university, I hung up my running spikes. My eligibility was over. And I pursued this fascination with building muscle. And basically figured, what would happen if I put all the same effort I put into the gym, into my running, into the gym? If I just, stopped running, started eating, and started lifting. And that's what I did. I was also very incentivized to transform my body because when I started, I didn't look like a personal trainer. I was 149 pounds. So who wants to hire a scrawny, looking runner?
Right.
So I had a number of motivations. I transformed my body within those first 6 months, and it was a pretty dramatic transformation. I gained, 40 pounds. 40 pounds of scale weight. I went from 149 to 190, 41 pounds to be exact. Now I didn't have a DEXA. I don't know exactly what percentage was muscle and fat, but I still had abs from the start to the end. So I assume it was pretty much all fat-free mass that I gained. So, that was just like for my own personal goal. That wasn't for business reasons or anything. I wanted to get more clients in that, but I wasn't the whole internet. That was in 2002. The whole internet world, wasn't even on my mind. It wasn't even on my radar. Writing a book wasn't even something I even thought of. But, after I transformed my body, I started seeing all these extra benefits. I saw it became like a stepping stone to getting all these other things. I started experiencing some of those things my roommates had, and I gained a genuine passion for helping skinny guys. So I kind of became the skinny guy expert in my gym. All the young kids came to me and said, hey, Vince, can you help me gain 30, 40 pounds, And I was doing it very differently than what you would find on YouTube these days or in the bodybuilding magazines. And, guys like the simple approach, what I eventually branded as no-nonsense muscle building. It was my no-nonsense approach to building muscle. And I give full credit to somebody I learned all this from. So, we can talk about that a bit later too. So, yeah, that's pretty much where it started. In 2002, I was a trainer. To 2005, I wrote my first ebook, No Nonsense Muscle Building, simply out of a demand from people asking me, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? How'd you do it? And then obviously, who doesn't want to make more money? Who doesn't want to have a side income? I discovered the internet. I saw all these other websites, guys who were basically marketing their skinny to muscular transformation stories, selling an information product. And I was like, I can do this, but I didn't know anything about the world of internet marketing and how to get into that. So that's when I started looking into that. I launched my book, and then, within 2 years, the book was having more. I was making more money, let's put it this way, online, working part-time than I was as working at the gym. Full time as a trainer. And that's when I knew, this is what I ultimately wanted to do. I never wanted to have an alarm clock. I really wanted to see how far I could take this. So I quit my job. That was back in 2008. I was about, I think, 26, 27 years old. And then I just, head down. And I just started building my team and just was, I've been online, like you said. I started the YouTube channel, actually, I think, in 2008.
Yeah.
And, that was one of the platforms we used. So, today I have over 12 people that work for me full time. And, we've just really doubled down on the skinny guy market. And it's pretty cool because it's like my dad asked me, are you still going to be doing this when you're 35? I'm 36 now. And I have I'm still looking forward with this, helping the same people, because there's just still, like you said, the goal is to help 1 million people build muscle the natural way, the no-nonsense way. So, so I guess that's where it brings us to today.
It's crazy, man. I really think in the fitness world, kind of your body is your resume, and people look to you to see if you've done it and if you walk the talk. And so having kind of that story of seeing your college roommates call you Skinny Vinny, and then packing on the 40 pounds of muscle, writing a book, and then helping other people do the same, you're really able to kind of show people it's possible. And I think, I guess the question I want to ask is, what are skinny guys and skinny girls doing or need to do differently than maybe the everyday person? Why do they get their own specific niche or attention? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about metabolism. We could talk about limb length. We could talk about just genetics. But, really what I found is that, muscle building for everybody, even if you're an advanced guy, even if you're a pro bodybuilder listening to this call, no matter what level you're at, even if you're a grandma or if you're a teenager, muscle building, what I think I've done really well is I've just really simplified things down to what actually matters. And, people really are overwhelmed these days with information. So, kind of break it down, like two of the biggest things, when it comes to building muscle, there's the physiology aspect. So when I say physiology, I mean the program design aspect. So the exercise selection, the reps, the sets, all that stuff, the things that influence what happens. So, in 2010, Brad Schonefeld came out with a study that revealed the 3 different stimuli, the mechanisms that stimulate muscle growth. And it was really refreshing for me because it really just simplified what works and what doesn't. And now that we know what works, anything you ask yourself about, like, hey, should I do this? Should I do that? You simply stack it up against the science. And what he found was that the 3 mechanisms that contribute to muscle growth are mechanical tension, muscle damage, and metabolic stress. So what is that? It's actually quite simple. So in layman's term, mechanical tension is simply lifting heavy shit. Moving something heavy from point A to point B. So within your program, there does need to be an element of heavier training. So lower reps, longer rest periods, fewer exercises within the workout. And that's just one element. So whenever you hear people say, oh, all you need to do is get strong, well, it depends. That's just one piece of the puzzle. There's 2 other pieces that will help you get better results if you put it all together. So the other piece is metabolic stress. And that's simply the feeling you get within your muscle that comes from higher reps, shorter rest periods, giant sets. That pressure you feel in the muscle, it feels like your skin is going to split. You just like have to, it feels like you can't escape.
Is that the pump? Is that what they call it?
There you go. Yeah, the pump is a simple way to say it.
Arnold.
There you go. Arnold kept everything nice and simple. So metabolic stress is another key requirement to muscle growth. And then the final one is muscle damage. And this is one that a lot of people, not ignore but aren't as familiar with, and this is when we go to eccentric failure. This is where we overload the stretch position of a movement. We create a law of muscle damage, and really emphasizing the eccentric portion of the movement, which is a portion that most people neglect. If you don't know what I'm talking about, tonight when you go to the gym, just take at least 4 to 5 seconds to lower the weight while you release the tension off your muscle inch by inch. You're going to be extremely sore tomorrow, and that's because you're going to experience more muscle damage. So that's a huge component. And when you take those things, if you just write these out, I'm a marketer, right? So I always look for ways to make these things catchy and for people to be able to remember them. So if you write out mechanical tension, metabolic stress, and muscle damage, you'll notice they all start with the letter M. And if you take away those first 3 words of each of those mechanisms, you're left with 3 words that all start with the letters DTS. So that's where I came up with DTS training. So when it comes to the physiology of building muscle, we need to apply, simply what I've coined, DTS training.
So damage, tension, and stress. Is that it?
There you go. That's it. Damage, tension, and stress. So now that we know that, we can start building cool programs. So, Living Large, my upcoming book, it comes out later this year. It's a 30-week program, and there's 3 10-week phases. And we simply periodize those 3 mechanisms over the course of 30 weeks. So there's a lot of creative ways to do it. I won't even say there's like a right way or a wrong way. But the key, a lot of people say, what's better, heavy training or, bodybuilding type training? Well, there's a whole nother conversation to be had on muscle fiber type, because depending on your primary muscle fiber type, your body's going to respond differently. And what I mean by that is, somebody who's more slow twitch in nature, somebody who could run long distances, maybe someone who can't really jump, someone who's got more endurance capabilities, he'll respond better to, say, metabolic stress training because that type of training caters to the chemical lactic acid, which is another key chemical that triggers muscle growth. So he'll do a lot better with that kind of training as opposed to, say, somebody who's more fast twitch in nature. So while those 3 mechanisms are irrefutable for everybody, they could still be slightly customized to somebody's primary muscle fiber type. So if you look at somebody's program over the course of the year, somebody like myself should spend more time doing metabolic stress training than, say, mechanical tension training, as where somebody who was maybe a sprinter in high school, somebody who could touch the rim, someone who can jump really well, their 12-month program, if they hired me one-on-one, we'd spend more time doing stuff that's around mechanical stress because their fiber type doesn't produce lactic acid the same way. So while these things are consistent, they can certainly be tweaked to the individual, but we're not talking like completely brand new ways of training. And that's what I find, people are really like, oh, okay, it's simple, but it's not like crazy simple to where people dumb it down to just lift heavy shit and rest and eat. It's like, okay, if it was that easy, we would, I wish it was that easy,
Gotta lift big to get big, bro.
Sure. So that's kind of like one of the things that, I'm talking a lot about these days, the physiology aspect. But before that, which is even more important than the physiology stuff, is the mechanics. And this is what I would say very little, if anyone's talking about, very few people, if anyone is talking about these days. Ben Pikowski's talking about this and all, his MI40 principles, and me and him learn all this information from a course called RTS, Resistance Training Specialists, which was invented by a guy named Tom Purvis, and essentially puts the science back into strength. And it gives you a perspective on exercise from the inside out. So it gets you to understand what the heck is going on inside, because a lot of people try and learn exercise from watching videos. They look at a magazine, and you don't understand what's actually happening if that's your only way of learning. And that's how a lot of people get hurt. I got so many. My customer base is primarily men in the 35 to 60 age range because they've got banged up lifting the bro way, and they've never been taught how to curl a dumbbell properly. People might be thinking, what do you mean how to curl a dumbbell properly?
I think sorry to cut you off, but I think one of the tips you had or Ben had was when you're doing a back exercise, envision your arms as kind of hooks that are hooked onto the barbell and you're pulling. And every single time now I'm in the gym, I do that, and I can feel the difference between just trying to like use momentum to jerk the weight up and actually that concentrated slow movement of trying to hook the weight and activating my back. So things like that is kind of what you're talking about.
Absolutely. I mean, and this starts coming from, this just requires a simple understanding of anatomy. I mean, if you think about it, are there any lat muscles that cross your wrist?
No. No.
So really, in reality, you don't need your hands to train your back. Someone could literally slice off your hands, and if you attach some straps around your biceps, around your upper arm, you could focus on simply bringing your elbows back and inside, which is what's going to really activate your lats. So extension of the shoulders and then a downward rotation of the scapula. So bringing your shoulder blades together is what's going to shorten the lats. And that doesn't require anything from the hand. It actually doesn't even require anything from the elbow. But we say, think about getting your elbow behind you because it's the part of the joint that's closer to the lat. So when you have an understanding of anatomy, you can start thinking about, one of the things I teach my clients is to always ask yourself before you do a movement, what's the goal of this exercise? What's the goal of this exercise? And it sounds like a simple question, but is it, we can start breaking this down. Like if you're trying to build muscle, what we're trying to do is stimulate muscle tissue. All right. And to smash up and to beat up muscle tissue doesn't take a lot of work. But the problem is that most people don't know how to, they don't first of all initiate the movement with the working muscle. So like you said, they initiate the movement with maybe some momentum. They change their body position. So one of the things people at home listening can do tonight when they go to the gym is before you even start initiating movement, contract the muscle. Just contract the muscle and begin to fatigue it. And then once that muscle is engaged, once you can feel it, shorten, tighten, then begin to contract against the resistance. The first thing people are going to notice is the weight might not even move. And that's your first indication that the weight is far too heavy. And that's fine. The cool news is that your muscles can't read any of the numbers on those dumbbells. Just the people watching you work out can. Yeah. So you have to ask yourself, are you trying to have more of an impact on your muscles, or are you trying to have more influence on the people watching you work out? You know what I'm saying? Most people go to the gym to have more of an impact on the people watching them than what's actually happening to their muscles.
Sure. You're working out your muscles or your ego.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's so true. So one of the principles I teach, I put this all under a simple term called mass mechanics. And mass mechanics, there's three principles, and I'll just break them down quickly. Principle number one of mass mechanics is the principle of ownership. And what this simply means is that you have to be able to own the weight. And we need to be able to own every single inch of the weight. One of my mentors taught me that control is the currency of growth. If you can't control the movement, then you can't challenge the muscle. And if you can't challenge the muscle, then you can't grow it. So the first question is do you own the weight? And you'll hear in my videos when I'm coaching guys who say, own it, own every single inch. Don't let the tension off. And that brings us to principle number two, is the principle of muscle disadvantages. See, what people don't understand, a lot of people are just unclear of what they're actually trying to accomplish because there's so many different people with great physiques out there doing it different ways. Muscle building is all about making things as hard as humanly possible. It simply needs to hurt. The muscle has to be in an extreme amount of discomfort. And muscle building is all about being inefficient. You don't want to become efficient. You know who wants to become efficient at what they're doing?
Who?
CrossFitters. Yeah. Or powerlifters. And that's not in a negative way. They want to learn, they want to be able to do more in less time because that's the nature of their sport. Athletes, that's what they need to be able to do. They have to get the thing off their chest. They got to get as many reps done. They got to complete it in less time. They're chasing a different goal. That's why I always ask guys, well, what's your goal? Is your goal to increase performance? To see how many pull-ups you can do? Because there's a lot of cool things you can do with momentum and changing your wrist position and snapping your trunk to do a ton of pull-ups. Or is your goal to build your back? If you can't answer that question, then we're stuck. But if you can say, I should just want to make my lats wider. Well, to be honest, the pull-up isn't even a great exercise. There's so many mechanical things that present challenges to getting the lats short, and that it doesn't even make sense, because as you're pulling your body weight up, the muscle's getting shorter and your body weight's increasing. So it's like, how the heck are you even going to get up there while keeping a maximal contraction on your lats? So it's like the pull-up isn't even a good exercise to build your lats. So when you start looking at things from a mechanic standpoint, you can start picking better exercises, and you start looking at exercise from a standpoint of like, what here can help challenge the muscle tissue, and what are the pros of this machine, the net cons of this machine, and how can you start complementing different ranges to get muscles fully short and fully lengthened so that you don't overkill the muscle. You just stimulate it with as much stimulus it needs to make experience something it hasn't before. So I tell everybody, like, I just spent 6 weeks at Ben Pikowski's gym in Tampa, Florida, and he's one of the top mechanics guys. Me and him study from the same people, and he was one of my coaches, and he really, really brought me into this world and, helped me start making gains with what I call literally baby weights. If you watch me train, I'm literally using about the same amount of weight as, like, I would say little guys are using in the gym. Yet, I'm 210 pounds, 13% body fat, 6 feet tall most of the year. So is it how's my body getting bigger when I'm working with baby weights? And what you have to understand before all the physiology stuff, execution comes first. Because if your execution sucks, as one of my mentors says, it doesn't matter how many reps you do if they all suck.
Yeah.
And the intensity, the frequency, all those cool things, they actually start to have an impact on your body when execution is there. I trained with one of Ben's trainers for the last 6 weeks, and he was just like on me every single rep. On a lateral raise, initiate with the working muscle, 2-second contraction at the top. Don't let the tension off. Control it. Don't bounce out of the bottom. Smooth transitions. I don't care about your range. Forcefully can squeeze the delts. I'm working with literally like 8-pound weights for 6 weeks, and my delts are looking better from week to week. I put a video up on my fan page just yesterday, just if people want to see this. Working with them, I post these videos every Tuesday, but they can see what this looks like. And I know it's not impressive. I know this stuff is like a tough sell. It's like, everybody's selling like, look how strong I am. Look how much weight I lift. Look at me move this way. And I mean, heck, we could talk about that for a while, but it's like a lot of these guys are, one, genetic freaks. 2, they're moving the weight like a couple inches, so you better be lifting a lot of weight. if you're going to do a leg press with 10 plates aside, if it's only moving a couple inches, you better have at least 10 plates on there. So it really just does come down to what is your goal. And I've got very clear on what my goal is. My goal is to build muscle the smarter way, and I don't want to be all banged up when I don't have to be wearing elbow wraps and knee wraps, right, and a whole ton of stuff. I don't want to have to take a 45-minute warm-up just to do my first work set. And I've got so many people who are coming to me saying, Vince, I wish I learned this stuff years ago. I'm all banged up now. I can't do what I love to do. They've obviously they've put more stress into the joints than into the muscle tissue. And what I take pride in is like the way I teach guys how to lift is like we're doing the equivalent of most guys 3 or 4 reps in just 1 rep. And that's how we make the claim to get more from less, because we're doing things properly. So this is what I'm really passionate about. I don't find, 1 second. I turned the video off by accident. I'm so passionate. I'm starting to hit my keyboard here. So that's what I'm passionate about. Guys come to my muscle camps. We literally cut the weight in half, and they say they had the best workout of their life. And then the next day they say, I'm sore just in the muscle I trained. And they're like, and it's like a fascinating thing. They're like, yeah, I'm always sore in these other spots. I'm like, yeah, because you're using other things to do X amount of weight for X amount of reps, and your body doesn't care. Your body doesn't say, "Oh, good job, you lift 300 pounds off the ground today." It only understands your body speaks in one language. Like, it only understands one language. Every other language you try and speak to it, like, are those three languages. I would say, those three languages we just talked about: damage, tension, and stress. So it's like, if you're speaking any other language than that, you really are, maybe unintentionally wasting your time.
So, Vince, we had some technical difficulties. We are audio only. Sorry about that, Paleo Hackers. But really good info before the break. We were talking about the importance of nutrition and how that ties into muscle building or just diet in general. And I'm really curious your take on nutrition and its role with training specifically.
All right. Well, there's no shadow of a doubt nutrition is going to help. But I'll challenge the status quo and a popular quote that I'm sure everybody's heard, and that's, you can't out-train a bad diet. Now, I will say you can do that up to a certain point. And I've seen a lot of guys, including myself, get down to, 10, 11% body fat with shitty diets. But they know how to train properly. They train hard. Their execution is flawless. They know how to increase volume and intensity. They keep, their programs very, very well designed, and they know how to get a lot of output from their workouts. And that's kind of like the joke in the professional athlete world too. A lot of these top professional athletes, their diets are horrendous. And sure, I understand some of these guys are genetic freaks. But at the same time, it's like, I feel like people put more emphasis on nutrition and they don't realize that it all starts in the gym.
I actually heard the same thing with Michael Phelps, that before he was going on to, he's one of the most decorated Olympians of all time. I think he might have held the world record for most gold medals. He was eating Big Macs and McNuggets, and he was a McDonald's fanatic. And right. It just kind of...
It's funny because in the endurance world, I used to compete, on the world level. I used to compete on the highest level, and a lot of us did. And this isn't out of ignorance. This was just more because, or out of we thought it was better. We just actually didn't know any better. I didn't even know what protein was. I lived off of bagels, pasta, and, craft dinner. And we'd have McDonald's sometimes the night before a race.
Yeah.
But it's funny because when you don't know it, you're in that state of, naivety. I can't say that word. You're naive, right? You don't know. It's like nutrition. It's funny. It's like nutrition makes a difference, really. But I will say it makes a huge impact, and it is the differentiator when you want to go, say, from 11% body fat as a male down to, say, 5-6% body fat. Now we're talking about managing calories. We have to be in a caloric deficit, but with hard training, you can burn the fat off your body. Again, very few people will agree with me right now because they haven't experienced it firsthand. I just posted a 6-week transformation on my coach's Facebook fan page. His handle's Hypertrophy Coach. And I was in Tampa with virtually no sleep because I got a newborn. And my diet was horrendous. I pretty much blow it for 6 weeks when we're in Tampa because they've got the best restaurants and I don't really manage anything. So I just kind of eat what I want all the time. But I trained 5 times a week with the trainer. He pushed me. My workouts were, I would say, 9.5 to 10 out of 10 every single time. And it was because he got it out of me because, having a trainer, you're never going to get a better workout by yourself than you will with a trainer who knows what they're doing. So we were able to prove my body fat dropped and I gained a bit of muscle through that process. So we showed the power of training alone. Now, I will say, for me to continue getting leaner, I'm going to have to smarten up and get my diet dialed in. And I got to start measuring calories, macros, and everything too. But what I'm just trying to do is I'm trying to open up people's minds to understand the power of training. It all starts in the gym. What you do or not do in the gym demands is going to dictate, your appetite and whether you need to eat enough to build muscle, or if you set up the stimulus to lose fat and all that stuff. So it all starts in the gym, and I think that's where most people are going wrong. They're putting more emphasis on nutrition than they are training, and training has so much power when things are done properly.
And that's a good point to reiterate, is when things are done properly, because like we've been talking about, there's a difference if you're going to the gym and just momentuming the weight ups and kind of going through it, and then nutrition's definitely important. But what you're talking about is smart, specific, intentional training that's 8, 9 out of 10 consistently. You can kind of get away with a little more on the diet aspect, correct?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. And up until a certain point, when you want to start getting like ultra lean, when you want like, your abs fully popping and you want to start seeing striations on your shoulders and on your lower abdomen, and you want veins popping on your arms and that, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, it's not happening with training alone.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure people don't just look for an opportunity to take what I said out of context.
Well, I like what you're saying about the emphasis of training, because I think it goes for mental clarity too. Like, a lot of people are out there eating proper nutrition and they're eliminating gluten and dairy and they're doing probiotics and all this stuff we talk about on this show. And they're like, well, it helps my mental clarity. And I'm like, so does going to the gym. I mean, you can't deny that when you walk out of the gym, you feel like a different person for the rest of the day. It's not just that hour. It's literally, your days are completely different. And so you get that mental boost as well from the gym. And I've had days, this is my little rant, Vince, I've had days where I've eaten a perfect diet and kind of not felt 100%. And then I've had days where I've gone to the gym and ate a totally crap diet, and mentally, I'm talking about, felt great. I felt amazing. It was awesome. I had this energy. So I think training is important with that as well. I don't know if you have any comments or experience with that.
All I'm saying is that when you start training truly hard, and this is the thing, I'm not trying to sell anybody on anything here, but like when you actually work with someone who can get 10 to 15% more out of you on a regular basis, you will start seeing the power of training, and you will start seeing why certain guys can have crappy diets and still look phenomenal.
So Vince, a lot of people listening are in the fitness industry, or they want to break into it. And I know we're coming up on time, but you've done a phenomenal job building your fitness business, and I'm sure there was a huge learning curve. So I'm transitioning now into kind of maybe some tips for people out there looking to build their fitness following online, or either in the gym, however you want to take this. What are kind of some lessons you've learned being in the business?
Oh, that's a great question. So, I have a seminar that I do now. It's called 0 to 6 Figure Formula. It's a 2-day seminar, and there's 6 steps to building a 6-figure business in less than 6 months. And I'll just give people the first thing that I teach. Step 1 is nailing your narrow niche. So the first step is to get very clear on who you're helping. I mean, your podcast is a great example. Paleo hacks. I mean, right away, if you're not into paleo, you're not going to be listening to your podcast.
Yeah.
So you're doubling down on the paleo world. Same thing that I'm doing with the skinny guy world. I'm not trying to sell to CrossFitters. I'm not trying to say, hey, come learn body weight from me. I'm not, saying, hey, learn fat loss from me. I'm the guy who helps skinny guys build muscle. And, there's a little saying in business, when you polarize, you monetize. So I think that's the first problem. Guys are afraid to get, I don't know if they're afraid, but the problem I see all the time is that it's like, who's this for? Like, who are you talking to? I know who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to skinny guys who want to build muscle without drugs, without bogus supplements, and in less time. They want to train hard, but they want to train smarter. They understand that that's the formula for building faster. So I'm very clear on who my message is for. So that's the first thing. It's like being able to say, just really getting clear on who your niche is. That would be step 1. I mean, I could keep going. I could literally, like I said, I talk for a full 2 days on this stuff. So,
I mean, that's great right there, because what you're saying is maybe for the person who runs something online or is thinking about breaking into the online business, it's not enough to just come out and say, hey, I'm a fitness guy, or hey, I run a diet blog, or hey, I like holistic health. You gotta take it a step further.
You got to specialize. You got to specialize, and you have to be a true expert in at least one thing. People are looking for experts these days, not generalists. So yeah, it comes down to a little, I'll give you guys a little bit more of the formula with this first step one. I first ask guys, what's your passion? What could you do the rest of your life for free? Another great way to say this is like, what would you do if you knew you were guaranteed to fail?
Yeah.
That's a pretty deadly question, eh?
Yeah.
You're guaranteed to fail. So what are you going to do? You might as well do what you love, right? So here's the thing. For me, my passion is helping skinny guys. I had a couple other things. That was actually an interesting process but I was more passionate about this. And then the next thing is okay, so you're passionate about that. I'm passionate about watching, Donald Trump on TV, but that doesn't mean I should start a website on Donald Trump or something. So the next thing is what are you credible on? Like, where's your true credibility? Like legit credibility. Where have you written? Who have you speaking to? What do your friends say? Dude, you know this better than everybody. And a lot of my friends were saying, Vince, you know how to help skinny guys build muscle. I'm not good at a lot of stuff, Clark. I'm really not. I'm a specialist. I do a few things very, very well, but I know nothing about sports. I haven't watched the. I go on and on. I don't know nothing about politics, although I like watching Donald Trump. Like I'm just very kind of like Rocky says, I kind of got a punchy brain.
Yeah.
In a lot of areas in life. But when it comes to business, when it comes to helping skinny guys build muscle, those are two things I'm very, very good at. So, where's your credibility? And then I'll give you guys one more. Where is there what I call where is there a ravenous marketplace? Where is there a ravenous marketplace? So where are there people in a lot of pain? Where are people looking for solution? The three biggest markets in the world these days are weight loss, dating, and real estate. So if you start a business in one of those areas, there's a ravenous marketplace. Skinny guys, there will always be guys who want to build muscle. So you want to be in a marketplace where there's people who are in pain. They have pain that's so deep it's keeping them up late at night, like literally, and they're looking for solutions, and that's good. There's a lot of different types of marketplaces. There's the marketplace that I would call like the slight edge. I think that might be kind of the category you're in. Like, they're looking for hacks. They're looking for ways to get an edge. A great example of this would be the golfers market. Like, these guys will spend a fortune on things that will take one stroke off their swing.
Yeah.
That's a good market to be in because that's what they want. So you have to look at, is there a marketplace for what I've got? If there's other people selling a similar thing, I look at that as a good thing because there's people profiting. If people say, hey, I got this idea, nobody's doing this right now, that right now is probably more of a red flag than anything. Now, sure, there's like certain ideas that just no one's really exploited yet, but typically, there's a lot of people buying muscle building products out there. So, this was a good marketplace for me because I'm passionate about it. I'm credible. And then the last thing is you've got to have something unique. You've got to bring something special to the table. Like you said, you just you can't compete on sexy. You can't compete on I'm stronger than everybody. You can't compete on I'm smarter than everybody. You have to have something unique. Like, what are you talking about? What's different about your message than everybody else? Why do you deserve people's attention and time? And that's the challenging one, and that's kind of what I help guys with at the seminar, because it's just really a series of questions I ask to get it out of them. And because everyone does have something unique, they just don't think it's unique because they've been doing it for so long. But how do you go about getting results? What's so special about the way that you build muscle, Vince? Why should, of all the guys online, you're not the biggest, you're not the strongest, you're not the most ripped, you're not the sexiest guy, yet I'm beating out tons of guys who are bigger than me, stronger than me, leaner than me. How am I crushing these guys? I got a business that's 10 times the size of most of these guys who've got all these things, but that's just a small piece of the puzzle. They've got the credibility piece, but they're not bringing something unique they're not bringing something unique to the table. They're saying the same old. And that's the big piece. When you bring all four of those things to the table, now you've got a foundation, you've got substance to build a business. And those are some of the things my coach taught me early on. And, I'll just repeat them again. You got to figure out what you're passionate about. You've got to be credible. You've got to ensure there's a ravenous marketplace. And then you've got to ensure you're bringing something unique to the table and I'm talking about like not just your message, but also like your program, like the thing you're going to sell. Like if you're going to make a business, it's got to make money. You've got to sell people something. So what are you selling that's so special? And you've got to learn how to market that. If you don't know how to market, then you're doing the whole marketplace a disservice because no one's going to find out about it. So there's nothing wrong with that. So it's, you have to make it your ethical duty to become a very, very good marketer using ethical business practices and be relentless and just really ensure that what you're doing is something you truly, truly love, because it's tough. It's tough out there, especially now with social media. Like you said, there's so much noise now. So it's like, you can certainly stand out. I'm watching guys like build 7 to 8 figure businesses like within 1 to 2 years who are executing this formula, who've come out of nowhere. So there's certainly more than enough for everybody. I will absolutely say that without a shadow of a doubt. But it requires requires a number of things.
Yeah, Vince, man, great information today. That was a fun call. One of my favorites for sure. There's a lot of different areas. Really appreciated you coming on and sharing that with us. Where can people go now? I guess since the book's not out, is that coming out later this year?
I think it's coming out October 18th, 2016.
Okay, so kind of a ways away.
Yeah.
So the best place to go would be your website?
Yeah, VinceDelmonteFitness.com is the way to join my newsletter, and that's where all the fun stuff happens. So, you'll come into my world and you get, tons of value, and that's the best way to, get on my newsletter list. I've got a big YouTube channel, so, that's where I put up all my free content. I'm concentrating this year. One of my goals, Clark, this year is to get the YouTube channel to 1 million subscribers, and we're starting to see that that's no easy task.
Yeah.
But if you want to kind of see how I'm trying to go about growing with quality, not quantity, I don't believe all clicks are created equal. I mean, you could have a huge channel if you're the type of guy that stirs up controversy and knows how to take a baseball bat to everything.
Sure. But
that's not the kind of person who's going to kind of, take out their credit card and invest in you and really come along for the journey. So we're trying to attract high quality people. So we put out high quality content and we're doing some cool things. So I would tell people to just tune into the YouTube channel and join the newsletter. Both those things are free, and that's a good place to start.
Awesome stuff, Vince. Really appreciated this call, man. Got to get you back on to talk about your book in October.
Oh, dude, that would be awesome because, I haven't even figured out that whole promotion plan yet. But, obviously.
You're welcome back anytime, man. You got an open door, so this was killer.
Great, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Man, really good info on that one, right? The muscle building tips kind of blow your mind when you realize that it's absolutely true. Your brain has no clue how much weight you're lifting and only responds to the amount of tension you apply to it. And there's some really cool tips with, what was that, DTS, damage, tension, and stress. Kind of training smarter, not harder. I'm definitely going to incorporate some of that stuff into my training protocols as well. PaleoHacks.com, guys. That's the best place to go for articles, recipes, and blogs. Find all our archives over there. If you've missed a show on Paleo Hacks, you can head over there now, and all our archives are up there for free. I don't know if we'll keep them up there that much longer for free. We might turn them into a product or something, so you can go over there, download them all now, and kind of listen to them whenever you want. If you want to get a hold of me, you can email me at clark@clarkdanger.com. Head on over there. The 11 Questions Change Your Life is a free ebook I put out with the best 11 questions I've ever found, answered, and used with the people I work with. 100% free. Just head over there to clarkdanger.com. All right, that is it. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Until next time, have a great week. I'll see you next Thursday.